Royal Ascot Day 2 is upon us. I'm Ben Linfoot and I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Brocklebank and Andy McLaren to have a look at the key horse running on Wednesday at Royal Ascot. And the key horse on Wednesday is Auguste Rodin.
What are you doing to us, Scoot? How many times have we got this horse wrong over the years? And here we are profiling this horse.
He's a tough horse to weigh up, isn't he? Which Auguste Rodin is going to turn up, but hopefully we can discover that by looking at a few videos, etc. And he runs in the Prince of Wales's race, Andy. Obviously, no White Birch, which is a bit of a shame because they look like to be building a bit of a rivalry, but it's still a really good race. And Auguste Rodin is the key horse to talk about.
He is, yeah. He's the one. He's proven Group 1 winner over this distance. He just about sets the standard. He actually comes out second on the time form ratings. Inspiral, with the allowance she gets, comes out top on the time form ratings by £1 from Auguste Rodin. So she's obviously really interested in stepping up to this distance. But Auguste Rodin. It's funny there you mentioned about which Auguste Rodin's going to turn up. I thought his last race was the first time we've really seen him turn up and run his race and not win. Normally it's been, he either turns up, looks a superstar and wins impressively, or he completely bombs out and comes last. But that run last time against White Birch, that was almost where we saw, okay, he turned up, he ran his race and he got beat fair and square by White Birch. So maybe that's just about his level. So be interesting to see what he can do on Wednesday. I think over this trip, they've got a stablemate in there who's probably going to be there as a pacemaker. And I think they're going to need to make it a bit of a test of stamina to really see him at his best.
Let's have a look at a few video clues, Matt. Starting with the Irish Champion Stakes at Leopardstown last season. And this is Auguste Rodin at his very best. I think this is probably a career best win, isn't it?
Yeah, and this was a tactical masterclass as well, wasn't it, from Ballador on their home patch. Teed it up beautifully. It was like some sort of baton being passed on, and the split came for him, surprisingly enough, there at the on the turn into the straight. It was a brilliant performance. You know, one or two jockeys in behind got a little bit caught out. We might even talk about Alflaila and one or two of the others as well. But Auguste Rodin was sensational this day, and he has got that profile, as Andy said. You know, he is very much hit or miss, but it was really refreshing to hear that he was going to be kept in training this season. And obviously it started on a bit of a downer overseas, but then he's gradually come back. It was a promising enough run last time. I was a bit like you. It sort of messed with your head a bit, didn't it? When it was like, hang on a minute, he's run okay there and got beaten. You know, and it is a shame we're not seeing White Birch, but drying ground's going to suit Auguste Rodin. I think as well, gradually they've been building towards this as his big summer target for 2024. Who knows what the future holds for him later in the season, whether we'll go back up in trip for races like the Arc or whether it'll be, you know, York or elsewhere for him. But I think this is going to be a real key target for Aidan O'Brien and Auguste Rodin throughout this season. And look, he brings a very, very high standard of form into the race.
Well, that was him at his best. We're going to look at him in the Tattersall Gold Cup last time. Not at his worst, but like you say, a little bit in between, because he was well beaten this day by White Birch. But is this a really good platform for the season, or is it a sign of regression from when he was a 3-year-old?
I think White Birch has improved. You sense that I'm going to sit on the fence a bit, don't you? White Birch has improved. White Birch handles a bit of juice in the ground, which there was here. And White Birch is a strong stayer, and the trainers and connection have kept saying that about White Birch. That he's going to be going back over 1.5 miles as well. But personally, I think this was a pretty decent rebuild effort from Auguste Rodin on ground that it might have found soft enough. He's come well clear of the rest. I've got a huge amount of respect for White Birch wherever he goes next. But for me, I'd be in the camp of Auguste Rodin will step forward again from that.
Okay.
Evans did open just before that race, didn't they? So I think the rain did get into the ground a bit, which we know he is at his best on top of the ground. For me, though, he does have it to prove now. He beat White Birch quite convincingly in the Derby last year, but White Birch, I think he's one who really has trained on and improved this year. It's like his sire Ulysses, he was at his best as he got older as a 4-year-old. And I think White Birch, we're seeing the best of him now, whereas Auguste Rodin, I do wonder if the lads might be regretting him keeping him in training this year now, because he does have that question mark. Has he peaked last year? Did we see the best of him last year? And has he really kicked on as a 4-year-old? And this is the sort of D-Day for him on Wednesday, I think.
It is. It's going to be key for his stallion prospects, isn't it? If he can get
exactly
Group 1 on the board at 4. I think he's short myself. I know he's got his ground. There's the Ascot question mark as well. I mean, he absolutely bombed out in the King George. I know that was on good to soft ground, which might have been against him that day, but he's a very tough horse to weigh up, and I hate taking him on after taking him on in the Derby last season. Famously, yeah. So, but I think I will. I think I will take him on with Inspiral. I just think going round a bend, 10 furlongs, fast ground, there's a lot of things playing to her strengths, and at bigger odds, she'd be the one for me.
Yeah, I know we've sort of had this project in mind, haven't we, for a few weeks, and won't they go this way or running the Queen Anne now? I was thinking they might take on the slightly easier, slightly lower level horses in the Queen Anne. Let's be honest, that is a very open looking race, whereas Auguste Rodin is quite a brave move, the big dice from John and Thady Gosden. But for me, I just have a very slight concern that Auguste Rodin, to be seen at his best, does want to test over 10 furlongs at Ascot.
Yeah,
now, that isn't going to play into Inspiral's hands. That would be my fear, is that it might just really stretch her stamina a little bit. I know that they'll probably try and ride her for that turn of foot at the end, and she showed a brilliant, 2 Breeders' Cup winners here clashing. What a fantastic racing store. Forget the rest. I mean, there are other decent horses in this race, but this is a real mouth-watering clash. But I just fear a little bit that they're going to run the race to suit Auguste Rodin. Of course they are, and that's not going to help Inspiral at all.
So you're for?
I'm for Auguste Rodin. I mean, it pains me to say I'm supposed to be sort of, looking for value here, and I could mention one or two others. I do think Alflela might have a big run in him. I know we saw him there. I mentioned him, just sort of didn't get a great ride that day. They were a little bit sloppy with the preparation, I suspect, going into that. They didn't see that coming at all. But Alflela's a useful horse, a good horse. Won the Sky Bet York Stakes last year. He was progressive. He's got a deadly record fresh. Won on debut, won on first time out in 22 and 23. And Owen Burrows at Ascot can get them ready. Interesting that he's come here straight away. Could have run in slightly cooler waters or had a prep run. So fast ground suits him. I would give Alflela a squeak. He might have to settle for second behind Auguste Rodin.
So 1 for Auguste Rodin and
1 against. I'm with you. I'm in the Inspiral camp.
Okay.
It is such an intriguing race, isn't it, with these two contrasting styles. You've got Auguste Rodin, as Matt mentioned. We know he's a Derby winner. He stays further than this. He's going to want this to be a real stamina test at the trip. Then we've got Inspiral coming up from a mile with that real potent turn of foot that she has. I just thought the first go at this trip in the Breeders' Cup, I was so impressed with the way she mowed down Warm Heart there. I'm really interested to see her around a bend over this trip. And I can see this panning out very similarly to the Irish Champion Stakes that we watched earlier, where Auguste Rodin, he got that lovely trip around. It's almost as if Ballydoyle planned it, where the gaps opened and he got this perfect run, sat in third under Ryan Moore. Then we had Nashwa coming from the back, another Gosden filly, just not getting there in time. And I think Inspiral's probably a bit of a better filly than Nashwa, and Ascot's uphill finish will help her as well. And I think she will come swooping down the outside and give Kieran Schumacher breakthrough Group 1 success for the Gosdens.
Fingers crossed it pans out like that. If you're in Inspiral's camp, like me and Andy are. It's a fascinating race. He's a fascinating horse, Auguste Rodin. Which one will turn up? I think he just needs everything to go his way. But if it does, he could be the one. Right. There's plenty more to go out on day 2 at Royal Ascot. You've got all the other races to pick from, guys, and I just want one bet from you each. So, Matt, we'll come to you first for Royal Ascot day 2, best bet on the card.
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to hold the handicap good stuff back for the value bet column. That will be on Sporting Life from 4 p.m. on Tuesday. But I'm going to go in the Duke of Cambridge, Laurel. She is, for me, a Group 1 filly in a Group 2 race without a penalty. Obviously has the long layoff to overcome. Last time we saw her, she wasn't right, clearly wasn't right. The subsequent layoff tells you that as well. But she's placed well. She went very close after being supplemented into the Sun Chariot as a younger horse. So she's got real class. They've kept her for this race. I think this could be a stepping stone onto Group 1 targets. That'll be the mission with her, to win a Group 1 with her as an older horse. So hopefully the Gosdens are on the board with Laurel in the Duke of Cambridge.
Laurel in the Duke of Cambridge for Matt. Andy?
Yeah, I'm going to take a swing at one at a massive price in the opening race on Wednesday in the Queen Mary. Big field, full of unexposed 2-year-olds, not exactly a punter's paradise, but I'm very interested at one called Glorious Kitty for the Easterbees. Now, they pitched her into the deep end on a debut. They ran her in a listed race at the Dante Festival at York.
Marygate, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought she ran a stormer there for a filly having a first run there against fillies who had experience under the belt. I think all the fillies who finished in front of her had 1 or 2 runs. She showed really good early speed out the gate. She was leading them after a furlong, and it looked like she got outpaced a bit during the middle part of the race. But I'm going to put that down to inexperience. I think she was just learning on the job as her rivals got away from her a bit. But I really liked the way she knuckled down and stuck her head down inside the final furlong, and she was making ground up on them again to finish 4th. And for the Easter Bees, I'm expecting her to take quite a big step forward from that. And she's, like I say, she's 40-1. And I'll be having an each-way bet on her in the Queen Mary.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, guys. Good luck with your bets at Royal Ascot on day 2. Please join us again as we look ahead to day 3 with Kyprios, the horse in focus in the Ascot Gold Cup.